So for all stuff at Dusty Evely does football film stuff for various outlets. He's very, very smart. So please welcome to the show, Mr. Dusty Evely. Dusty, how you doing, my friend?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me back. Good to see you guys. What's going on?
Let's go, Dusty.
Okay. And this is great, Dusty, because last time you were on, you were stirring the pot. I absolutely love that. I love that. It's great. I want to ask you, this matchup coming up, the weather. It's supposed to be raining. It's supposed to be crap. It's like 100% guarantee of rain, obviously at Lambeau Field. What's like your early feel for kind of how this game's going to look? And what team do you think has the advantage in that type of environment, even though I get the Packers are at home?
Yeah, it's going to be sloppy. I mean, it's, anytime you get rain, it's going to be sloppy. Maybe my first thought is you got Jared Goff in the rain. That's cool. I'm fine with that. I mean, but the thing is, both teams are good at running the ball and want to run the ball. I was going to look up DVOA before I came up, and I forgot. I think both teams are top 10 DVOA, if I'm not mistaken, in rushing. And Lions want to do that, and Lions can do that. I mean, they've got Gibbs. Gibbs is a good home run header. David Montgomery refuses to be tackled, and they've got a great offensive line. So I think the Packers offensive line is down a tick from there. I do think they're better running the ball than in pass protection now, just with the movers they have up front. And yeah, I mean, I think the running attack's been good. Josh Jacobs been good. Wilson's been a solid number 2 there. I don't think Lloyd's coming up this game, but I mean, both teams, and I think especially this game with Love, it's kind of looking like he's trending to start. And even if he doesn't, you got Malik Willis. So if he does start, you got the groin thing, and then see the groin thing, not in a perverted way, just he has tweaked his groin. It's hard to talk about that. And then if he does, he'll be probably not 100%, so they'll want to run. And if he doesn't, it'll be Malik Willis, and they like to run with Willis. So I think it'll be relatively sloppy, probably pretty run heavy game. All that being said, it probably opens with a couple bombs. Like just me feeling this way, they're just going to go bombs away, and it's going to be like 40-point game. But I think it's going to be just sloppy in the muck run game centered, I would imagine.
Yeah, Dusty, how tough too? Because I know the injury report came out today. Evan Williams out, Jair Alexander questionable. 2 pretty big pieces in that secondary. Like, how do you think the Packers and you guys kind of will adjust to that, especially with the way the Lions offense has been playing the last few weeks at probably the highest level they have since Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson have taken over? What are your thoughts on that secondary and how they kind of can turn this thing around to slow them down?
Well, Dusty, did you see Xavier McKinney's he feels like
Xavier McKinney,
No, I didn't actually.
Okay, so Xavier McKinney talked to some of the media, and he said like he feels like the Lions kind of embarrass opponents, and what do you say, Booner? Like a little disrespectful. What they're doing here?
He said I could pull it. I can read it word for word. Yeah, he said I'm not a big fan of that. Trying to embarrass someone, I don't really respect that.
That's fine. He's free to believe what he wants. That's fine. I mean, I've always been of the mind. I don't like when my team is blown out, but if you want to stop the other team from, say, throwing bubble screens to their tackle, then you should stop them from doing so. Like that's on you to stop them. If you run up the score, that's fine. Run up the score, dude. Like you're all professionals. I think McKinney does take, I think, some things personal. I think some of that's a bit of talk, hype up his guys. I mean, you mentioned the secondary is going to be kind of down a little bit. Jair, yeah, I don't know. I mean, really, because he hurt his knee end of the last play of the Jacksonville game. It was kind of is he done for the season? So the fact that he's questionable is good. If he's gone, I would imagine they go to Carrington Valentine, which was a 7th round guy last year that played really well. And the big question this year has been like, why hasn't he been on the field? We've barely seen him. It's been more Eric Stokes, and they bumped Nixon out to the outside instead of Valentine. So if Jair can't go, it's probably Valentine, who, I mean, is like Jair in a lot of ways, I think, just in the amount he talks, certainly. But just his skill set, I think, is good. And so, I mean, he's not as good as Jair, and we've only seen one season from him. But I think they'll be okay there. I mean, Williams, the defense took a big dive last week because Evan Williams left in the middle of the week last week. And I'm curious to see kind of how they deal with that this week, because what they did last week is they took Javon Bullard, with their second-round rookies from this past year, bumped him back to safety. He'd been playing a lot of nickel stuff for him, and he just did not look comfortable in space. They had him down in the box, which he played a little anyway. But when they have him playing from high, his angles are all off, dude. He played safety in college, so it's a little shocking. But he missed a couple tackles. We got turned around pretty bad on a couple deep routes. So I'm curious if they go that route or if they maybe kind of mix up, because so far, I mean, they've kind of settled into, as before the year, is what are they going to do at safety? It was McKinney, and then there's a whole bunch of like maybe this guy, maybe this guy. Evan Williams has kind of turned into kind of a do-it-all dude. He play a lot of high. They play him in the box a lot, and he's very good there. And I don't think they have another guy right now that's that established there. I've been curious about Kitano Ladapo, who's another rookie that hasn't seen the field too much. He kind of looks like Williams. Williams has been so smart, like just a tremendous player for them. So I think they could probably hold on with Valentine. I'm not the biggest believer in the Lions receiving group, if I'm being honest here. I mean, I think they are good and that offense is obviously well structured, but I don't look at them and say why all these receivers can beat us. I think from cornerback perspective, if Jair can't go, I think they'll be fine-ish, but I think the loss of Williams in this game specifically, I think hurts them a little more, especially if Bullard plays like what we saw in the second half last week.
Yeah, Dustin, we appreciate you coming back on. You're just talking about the Lions receiving corner. Right before you joined, I was kind of talking about Jaden Reed. And it seems like over the last couple of games, Romeo Doubs has been the guy for Jordan Love. He's been on a tear. And you see times where Christian Watson's the guy. And to start the season off, Jaden Reed was one of the best wide receivers in football. Given the condition, given Jordan Love being banged up, if there's going to be a Packers wide receiver you think is the guy this week in the receiving game, who do you think that would be given this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, I'm tempted to say Reed just because Reed is kind of a bit of the do-it-all guy. They'll have him in the backfield quite a bit. They do the split shotgun stuff with it's a lot of stuff they used to do with two running backs, and now they'll do like split Josh Jacobs on one side, Reed on the other, and a lot of orbit motion. They'll throw him some screens out of that. They'll run him up the wheel out of that. And so I think they look for ways to get Reed the ball. And if it is a little sloppier, I think this stays a little closer to the line of scrimmage. And I think that favors Reed. I mean, he can get vertical, but they use him more in the horizontal game. Like if you're looking for a guy that like can get open that way, I think Reed's the dude. I mean, Dobbs, it's funny because Dobbs had the whole thing where he just didn't show up to practice and was suspended for a game. And then he's been nails ever since. Like, and he's always been kind of that go-to guy on third down. He's got a big catch radius, not blazing speed. Typically good hands, like good catch radius, but he'll drop a handful of balls. So I have good games and bad games. He's been really good. So I do feel like he will get his chances, but just the nature of the game, I think they're going to look to get Reed touches near the line of scrimmage, create those angles and try to create some explosives, maybe a little closer to the line of scrimmage than they had in the past. If the conditions are as bad as they kind of look.
Yeah. I mean, Jordan Love, it just kind of staying on his play. He's been, I mean, the guy's fearless. I will say that he turns the ball over, but still, I mean, he's like top 5 in passing touchdowns right now, top 4. But he has 9 interceptions going up against this back end for the Lions. Not that it's going to be that type of game given the weather, but they're going to have to throw on some of these 3rd and 7s, 3rd and 10s, whatever it is. What's your kind of opinion on the matchup there, Jordan Love and the interceptions versus two safeties who are top 5 in interceptions, Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph? Kind of your thoughts on that matchup, especially with the guys that can kind of help push the ball a little downfield here.
Yeah, those dudes are good, dude. I mean, I'm really excited about. I was excited about the safety matchup between both of these teams. Then with Williams out, we kind of lose some of that. But man, I mean, Joseph's been good. Branch is like telepathic this season, dude. Like Branch is just playing on a different level. So I mean, I will say if Love is not 100%, I am concerned about at least one interception going that way. Joseph always seems to get the Packers at some point anyway, so that's always going to be there. But if Love can't move, like the beginning of the Jacksonville game this past week, he could move, and then he tweaked it as he was kind of running. He kind of came down weird, tweaked it as the game went on. It was steadily like it got right afterwards. It was like, oh, he's clearly limited. He's limping a little, but he could move. By the third quarter, like he couldn't move. So it depends on how mobile he truly can be. If he's more like he was late first quarter, early second quarter, where like he's clearly hampered, but he can move, I think they'll be fine. He's good at creating those wide receivers now. And I mean, Tucker Kraft, honestly, down the field have done such a good job adjusting to balls and adjusting routes. I think they will be fine. But if he is immobile to the point that he was kind of closer to the end of the first half and when they took him out of the third quarter, I think that's a problem, because then if it's not there, and I mean, I will say the interceptions are there. Absolutely. He is still seeing the field. He's still reading the field extremely well. He just takes chances. And I think he will be more willing to take chances if he can't move. I got to get this out before the rush gets home because I can't break contain. So I'd say if he can't move, it concerns me more. If he can move a bit, I still think he's going to give him at least one chance, but I think it becomes a bigger issue if if that groin injury is still lingering to the point where he can't move very well.
Hey, Dusty, one thing I brought up on our show, just kind of with the matchups and looking at some advantages for different teams. The one thing that stood out to me a little bit, an advantage towards the Lions, is the red zone. Both sides, offensive and defensively. The Packers are 20th defensive red zone team, and then offensively they're 25th. Has that been something with the Packers this season? I haven't watched every game. I've seen a couple Packers games now. What are your thoughts on that? Is there a reason for that and something that I'm missing, or what do you think? Is that going to be a problem on Sunday for Green Bay?
Red zone stuff's so weird because it is. I mean, it's not really sticky year to year or even like in season a lot of times. So I think last year the Packers set the all-time record for touchdown percentage in like goal to go situations. It was like 95% of the time if they were in whatever in goal, they're scoring a touchdown. Like it just an insane record. And that hasn't been quite there this year. And I mean, if you look at what they're running, how they're running it, like it's really not that different. Like I still think I really like LaFleur and what he puts together in that red zone package. They've got some drops, they've got some weird inconsistencies, if there's some weird decision making. So it's one of those things where like if you look at it in terms of how they operate, I don't think it's a big deal. It's very inconsistent week to week in terms of if they get it or not, but the process is good. So it's one of those things where like, I believe it will turn around because I do think what they're running is good, sound stuff. And it's a very kind of measured approach, and they're looking to kind of hit these guys where they're not. Like I think their approach to red zone is very good. So at some point, I assume that will come around. It's hard to predict week to week. So I'll say I think they'll probably be fine. Just because at any given week, I'm like, they'll probably be fine as long as they are. I think their biggest issue, and this is the big thing I think that comes in here more than anywhere else, they've had a ton of penalties from the offensive line. Rasheed Walker has been a nightmare up front for them. Like he's been fine blocking. There's been a lot of penalties. So a lot of times, like you see him like first and goal from the 15, like, okay, well, they're not going to score a touchdown here. Like you kind of know they're not going to do that. So they need to keep the penalties down on offense. On defense, I honestly haven't studied too much what they've done in terms of how they're operating down there. I mean, they've got the pieces. It's one of those things, again, feels like they'll turn around. Their Achilles heel down there right now is just they can't really rush the passer. Like they've been generating a pass rush off a lot of kind of that Flores look, right? Like it's a whole lot of sim pressure stuff. It's 7 guys at the line and dropping guys out. It's harder to do that in the red zone because it's such a more confined space and you can take advantage of that stuff in different ways, and they can't really get pressure with 4. And so against the guy who's a little more immobile like Goff, that probably bites them a little less, but it still forces their guys, especially in the pass game, to cover a little more, just because that they have a really hard time getting home with 4. They thought they were going to be able to do that this year, and they just can't. Gary's not been the same all year. Van Ness hasn't really turned into much yet. So if they can generate pressure, they'll be all right. But I think it's tough for that line right now. They've given up a handful of pretty easy rushes as well. And at that point, I think some of those guys are gassed. With Devontae Wyatt's back this week, and I think he will be. I think that becomes a tougher task for an offense to score because he is very good in the middle there. But I think the red zone stuff on defense could hound them until they figure out that pass rush.
And something kind of go with that pass rush, and he's definitely Edan Cooper. Me and Booner both loved him coming out of the draft. We've been talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars game, and without a doubt, that was kind of his coming out party. I think he had a phenomenal game. I think he was your guys' defensive player of the week. And I think when you look at him, he's got 3 sacks on the season already, one of the highest graded pass rushing linebackers. Do you think that that's going to be a guy that's going to kind of get more snaps than he has so far, and they're going to really use him to get after Goff, given his athletic ability?
Yeah, absolutely. And they've centered a lot of the pass rush stuff around him. Honestly, he didn't come out. I think his first game was like 18% of snaps, and he got drafted. I think he tweaked his hamstring either in the first practice or first something. He was barely in training camp. He didn't play any preseason, and so he didn't have a whole lot of time. So I think they were kind of easing him in, and so I think he went from like 18 to 20 to 35%, and I think he played 65% this past week. So I think they've been easing him in. I'm curious what they do. I think Quay Walker is going to be back this week because he missed the second half of the Texans game and all of the Jacksonville game with the concussion. I think he's out of protocol now. But I mean, they've centered a lot of what they want to do with the pass rush with that kind of mugging the A-gap stuff with Cooper, because he is so, man, like he's so fast. He plays like a maniac, but he's also so smart. Like that's what's gotten me about him. I watching him at A&M, like I knew, okay, this seems like a guy who's smart, but linebacker's a tough position to come in and play. He seems like he knows what the offense is going to do before they do it. And so he's been doing a whole lot of that mugging the A-gap, some of it falling back, some of it he did the one I'm sure you saw this past week. He was mugging the A gap and then carried like cover 2 up the pipe and broke up a pass with just like that. You're a linebacker. How are you able to do that? But they're also sending him on blitzes up the middle. Lots of middle stunt and twist from this defense. So like Kenny Clark is a smasher, and then Cooper looping around. Like they're looking for ways to get him as a free rusher, and I think they've done a good job with it. So I think absolutely you're going to get Cooper in the backfield a few times off designed rush looks specifically designed to spring him. That's absolutely going to be in the cards for this week. And they've played, Jacksonville line's not great. The Texans line looked like they had never seen a stunt before in their life. Like the Lions line is better than that. So I think they picked that up a little better, but Hafley's been really creative with the way he kind of deploys that stuff. So there will be at least 2 or 3 times you'll see Cooper coming free up the middle, I think.
Dusty, before we let you go here, score prediction for the Sunday. What are you thinking?
Oh man, I had all one in mind and then I forgot it was raining. So it's raining. I'm gonna go. Let me be honest with you guys. I don't feel great about it. I'll go Lions 27-24. Listen, at this point, if Willis starts, I think they win this. I think if they go with Love and he's 75% right now, I don't think this offense right now, it's so inconsistent. They've got and now I think it doesn't look like Myers is going to play, which means maybe Jacob Monk at center. Like they've been a little inconsistent. You've got the bye looming. You've got guys are dinged up, and if Love's not close to 100%, I think it's going to be hard for them to score points. And the Lions are rolling right now. So that's the way I'll go. I'm prepared to be wrong about this and then be happy about being wrong. But that's currently where I'm sitting, I think.
The good old reverse jinx, Dusty.
Works every time.
Yeah, we had Peter Bukowski on yesterday. He picked the Lions to win. It's something it's not genuine, Dusty. I don't know. You get
listen, I've been running. This is like my 3rd Lions podcast I've done this week. No one's asked me for a score prediction. I've had a Lions score queued up this whole time, and you guys are the only ones. This is my only chance to do it. But I've been thinking I've overthought this game. But again, I think if Willis is in, I legitimately think they win. I think they do run game and they win. But right now, I swear it's not a reverse jinx. I promise you guys.
I think that's a very unpopular opinion, but I agree with you, Dusty. Just because with Malik Willis, you've seen him win, and they probably have the formula. With Jordan Love hurt, there's not as much of a formula and game plan to stick to compared to a healthy quarterback that can run the ball.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Yeah, that run game's really creative with Willis. I was like, I want Love to be healthy. Give him 2 weeks. Let's see what Willis can do, and if they lose, they lose. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, Dusty, appreciate you. You guys can check out Dusty. Obviously, we're going to play the Packers again once it'll be back at Ford Field, but follow him for all your updates. Dusty, we'll talk to you soon. Appreciate you joining, my friend.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on again.
Appreciate it, Dusty.
Mr. Dusty Evely. Hey, what's going on there? It's Jeff Iafrate. Appreciate you for finishing the video. You can check out one of the videos here suggested or show support by commenting, liking, and subscribing. And buy your merchandise, FisherCTSports.com.